Today we're going to talk about choices. In life, they define who you are, determine the consequences of your actions, and ultimately weave together the experience of life. In the Star Citizen universe, this is no different. And today, before you choose whether you want to be a law-abiding citizen or a criminal, a package delivery boy, or a soldier fighting for the greater good, you have to make a very simple choice to start out the game, and that is what ship to start your journey with. I've got three that are very affordable that I'm going to go over today. I'm going to go over the pros and cons of each one and give recommendations for specific types of players that may choose each ship. My name is Eternal Pain, and if you like keeping up to date with Star Citizen's development, ship reviews, and just tips and tricks guides to help you survive the verse, you have come to the right place. So at the end of this video, if you have found it informative or entertaining in any way, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. With all of that being said, let's dive into it. The first ship on today's list is the Mustang Alpha. It is available on the Pledge Store for $45 in a starter pack, and this ship is great for anyone who would be into the more combat-oriented spaceflight in Star Citizen. It comes with a decent weapon package, boasting a turret on the nose that has two size 2 hard points on it, and the wings have two size 1 hard points, as well as 2 hard points for rocket pods that have yet to be introduced to the game, but none of those hard points are populated when you first get the ship. The only guns that come default on the Mustang Alpha are the nose turret guns, and I would recommend upgrading those as soon as possible. The Mustang Alpha is truly something that you would expect to see in a sci-fi movie or TV show, with its bird-like wings that fold up when you deploy your landing gear, and the large stylized midsection that has a very large cockpit with a lot of unused space. I'll explain a little more about that unused space when I talk about a couple of the other variants of the Mustang. Overall, I think the Mustang would be a good starting point for a lot of people who even want to explore the verse, but also want to get their hands a little dirty. This would probably be a good starter ship for criminals or bounty hunters. One major pro to the Mustang Alpha is the weapons package that it does come with, or the ability to equip 2 size 2s and 2 size 1s. I wouldn't recommend seeking out trouble with other players with this ship, but to fight NPCs it will do absolutely fine. I have tested it, and a skilled pilot, not myself, can mow down targets pretty damn fast with it. Another pro to the Mustang Alpha is the cockpit. The cockpit is probably one of the most well-designed cockpits in Star Citizen as far as fighter cockpits go, because there is no struts blocking your view, and you have a clear line of sight no matter what direction you're looking, except for maybe in front of you where the giant MFD panel is blocking a small point of the view. If they did rework this ship, I might suggest maybe making that a little bit smaller so that you can see over it a little bit better. But other than that, I have no complaints about the cockpit. Another big pro about the Mustang is the fact that it has pretty decent handling. It turns pretty fast and can change directions insanely fast for a starter ship. Being the light fighter that it is, that would be expected for it to be able to maneuver fairly well. A couple of cons with the Mustang Alpha is the fact that even though you have a large space in the cockpit, Unlike the other variants, like the beta for example, you do not have a living quarters in the back, so therefore if you plan on starting the game with the Mustang Alpha, you're gonna have to land at a spaceport or a rest and relax station in order to actually log out of the game without having to claim your ship when you come back in. At least until iCache and server meshing and everything come live, when it won't even matter if you log out in the cockpit of your ship. Another big con for me is just the strength of this ship in a dogfight. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't recommend seeking out PvP experience with this ship because you will just get demolished by pretty much everything else. The Mustang can be strong in the hands of a very skilled pilot, but somebody who's just starting the game probably isn't going to stand a chance against even the likes of me when I'm in my Aero and I'm fully kitted with my attritions and my distortion cannons. Though you may have one more shield generator than me, I have a lot more hull HP, I can maneuver a lot faster, and I have better weapons. Speaking of weapons, a con for the Mustang is the fact that you can't carry any missiles as of right now in the game because, like I said, the rocket pods that are supposed to be able to be attached to the wings of the Mustang don't exactly exist right now. So that's probably one reason that if I were starting Star Citizen right now, I would probably stay away from the Mustang. But that's just me. If you're in for a decent combat ship to start the game out with, the Mustang is probably a good ship for you. The next ship I'm going to talk about is the Robert Space Industries Aurora MR. This one is good for your explorers, those who are just starting out in the game that want to see everything that Star Citizen has to offer, but they don't want to get into a lot of space battles. They just want to explore, have some fun, and maybe deliver some packages or run very, very light cargo. As far as the weapons package on the Aurora, I would not recommend taking this into even PvE battles, as you're going to realize very quickly that not only does it take a long time to take down a target, but even though you have pretty hefty shields on the Aurora, it's not the greatest dogfighter. It can be done, but it's extremely difficult for a new player. As far as the Aurora's external design goes, I don't really know how to feel about this one. It's not exactly stylish. I do like it in a sense, but in the same token, it kind of reminds me of just maybe a small shuttle that would be on transporting goods from one ship to another. As I said, I really don't know how to feel about the external design of the Aurora. It confuses me because it doesn't quite look like any other ship in the game. It doesn't have the wing features that most smaller ships do, and I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of it, though I do kind of like how different it is from everything else. The Aurora boasts mainly an industrial loadout for its components, which means it can actually get the job done pretty much no matter what job you throw at it, even in a combat scenario. But as I said before, it does take a skilled pilot for combat in this ship. One thing the Aurora has over the Mustang Alpha is the fact that you can actually very easily put packages inside the Aurora, whereas the Alpha, it takes a bit of doing, and to be honest with you, the first time I tried it, I gave up after about 5 minutes because I just couldn't throw the package in the ship, and that was before tractor beams existed, so it might be a little easier now, but I haven't tried it. With the Aurora, you can just open the side, place the package inside after climbing into the ship. And another thing that the Aurora has over the Mustang is the fact that it has a bed in the back, but if this were a real-life ship, I would feel as if I were sleeping in a coffin. Now, as far as starter ships go, I feel like the Aurora has the best overall cockpit design, and even though it's a tight squeeze to get into that seat and there's a few struts in the way of your view, I don't expect many people to be dogfighting in this because it's an Aurora. But the view from the cockpit is pretty damn good. You can see under you, above you, to the side, pretty much any direction you want to look. And this is also a great ship for beginners to learn how to fly, because it can help you get your bearings when you're trying to land, seeing as how you can look under the ship and make sure that you're on the landing pad that you're trying to land on. So for explorers and somebody who wants to dabble in a little bit of cargo hauling and package delivery, I would recommend the Aurora. That was the ship that I actually started out the game with, and I loved it so much that I actually went and bought one after I upgraded to my Cutlass Black. And then I lost it when a reset happened, and then I upgraded my Cutlass Black to an MSR, and I still bought another Aurora. So out of the two $45 starter ships, the Aurora is probably going to be my pick overall, because I like a variety of gameplay loops within Star Citizen. So the main pros of the Aurora are the fact that you can easily place packages in the back, it has a bed, and the cockpit allows for beginners to better learn how to fly and maneuver over landing pads. Some cons is the weapons package isn't that great. It doesn't stack up well in a dogfight, and it doesn't really hold enough quantum fuel to efficiently traverse the verse. So now that we have the two smaller starter ships out of the way that are bare minimum to get into the game, this next one, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it here, is actually my recommendation for players to start out with. If you have a few extra dollars and you can actually afford $70 for the starter pack, the Avenger Titan is lovingly known as the Space Penguin. I have owned one. I loved it. It was great for some light cargo hauling. It has a sleeping quarters, and it can be entered and exited both from the cockpit and the cargo bay on the back, both of which give you full access to the ship. Now, the Avenger Titan is also a very well-rounded starter ship if you can scrape together the extra money to get it, seeing as how it comes with a default loadout with a gimbaled size 3 weapon on the front and 2 gimbaled size 2s on the wings. Now, you can swap these out for a fixed size 4 on the nose and fixed size 3s on the wing, giving this ship insane firepower for $70. But even with all that firepower, the Titan is not without flaws. It's very slow to maneuver sometimes, so you really have to outsmart your opponent if you do get into a dogfight with it, and it's probably recommended you try and fight from range and don't try to get up in somebody's face with it, seeing as how you're not going to be able to track a target that's really close to you. So basically, if an Avenger goes up against something like a Hawk or an Arrow, you're going to have a problem. The Titan does have some pretty decent components to start out with, but if you do go with the Titan, I would highly recommend upgrading as soon as possible. And I would go with a fixed loadout on this, seeing as how it gives you all of that firepower so you can do as much damage as possible when you do have your sights on a target. Also, it comes with, I think, 8 SCU of cargo, so it gives you a decent amount of cargo space to dive a little deeper into the cargo hauling gameplay loop. It's not going to make you a ton of money, but it will make you more than something like the Aurora. Now, when it comes to the Avenger Titan's exterior, I really like this ship's design. I know it's a surprise, but I'm a huge space nerd. When I was younger, I used to love watching the shuttle launches and stuff every time NASA would broadcast them live, and this ship reminds me of those space shuttles, only a little more aerodynamic and smaller, seeing as how it only seats one person in the cockpit, but it's just a nice throwback to present day technology from a futuristic game. As far as the cockpit goes on the Titan, I believe they could have done a little better with it, but I saw where they were going with it. The Avenger Titan is an aging ship in the verse, and when you get into it, you can truly feel that this is much older tech than every other ship in the game, because the control panels are worn. It looks like a present day fighter jet on the interior. The MFDs look like something out of, oh, I don't know, a 1960s NASA display panel. And the ship overall does kind of look worn out and run down. Though I do like the design of it, it is an older ship in the Star Citizen universe. It's got a little bit of history behind it, and I will end up doing a full review on the Avenger Titan and the other two ships in this video at some point. But today I just wanted to kind of help you pick your starter ship. So some pros for the Avenger Titan is the fact that it does have a decent weapons loadout. It has double the cargo space of both the Aurora and the Mustang Alpha. You can enter the vehicle from 2 different points, so if you're getting fired at from the front, you can easily run out the back of the vehicle instead of having to hit your ejection seat. And also, if you're getting fired at from behind, you can easily eject out of the cockpit, so that's nice to have 2 points of entry to the vehicle. I wish they would actually put that design in the MSR, seeing as how the Mercury Star Runner only has 1 point of entry or exit, and that's the giant cargo bay on the back of the ship. So if there's a fire in the cargo bay, you're screwed. But today's video is not about the Mercury Star Runner. I do have a video on the Mercury Star Runner that I posted shortly after I bought it, but let's move on to some more pros about the Avenger Titan, because I could ramble about my Mercury Star Runner all day. I love it, but I hate it. Another huge pro to the Avenger Titan is the fact that you can actually carry a decent amount of missiles compared to the Aurora or the Zero missiles on the Mustang Alpha. You have the option for 2 size 3s, 4 size 2s, or 8 size 1 missiles, which it's probably good to go with the 8 size 1s. That way you have more chances to actually hit something. Another huge pro to the Avenger is the fact that, as mentioned before, it does have a sleeping quarters, so if you are in a hurry to log out, you can always just turn around in your seat, go back to your bed, lay down, and log out. You don't have to worry about flying to a spaceport or a rest and relax station. And just to reiterate, the main cons for the Avenger Titan is the fact that it is a little sluggish in its movement, and it can be taken down fairly easily by smaller ships. Though the Avenger Titan can still be a viable bounty hunting ship for those players who have just started out in the verse and were willing to spend the extra money to spring for the Avenger over the Aurora or the Mustang. Alright guys, I may seem a little biased here, but when it comes down to it, these are all 3 decent ships to start out with in the verse. They are by no means the best ships that you can have in the verse, but they are all 3 capable of giving you a taste of what Star Citizen has to offer. If I had to recommend one up front for you to start out with, it would definitely be the Avenger Titan, even though it does cost a little more money. I know some people can't really spring for that, like myself. When I first started playing Star Citizen, I didn't have a whole lot of money to start out the game, but over time I saved and upgraded my ship. And if I had to recommend a close second that I would start out with in the verse, it would probably be the Aurora. The Mustang would only be last on my list, seeing as how it doesn't have a sleeping quarters, and it's insanely hard to get packages into that ship, and package delivery missions are a huge part of starting out in Star Citizen because they allow you to make some decent money while exploring all of the locations that Star Citizen has to offer. Although, as I've said, I believe twice in this video already, the Mustang does have its merits for those who would like to start out strong with a decent fighter in the game. But you will have to run some other types of missions before you can actually utilize the full potential of the combat effectiveness of the Mustang Alpha, so that you can populate those 2 size 1 hard points that you have on your wings that don't come with a gun by default. So as I said in the beginning of this video, choices, they affect every aspect of your life, and that goes the same for Star Citizen. Whatever ship you choose to start out with in the verse will affect how you play the game, what you decide to do in the game, and just overall your starting experience. I hope I've helped you make a more informed decision as to which one of these ships you would like to start out with in Star Citizen. And if you are a brand new player to the verse that hasn't bought your package yet, do be sure to use my link down below so that you can get 5,000 AUEC to start out with in the game, just to help you go a little further in upgrading your ship. Alright guys, I think that's going to be it for me, so feel free to comment down below. Let me know which one of these is your favorite. Let me know which one you started out with if you are a Star Citizen veteran, what you liked about them, what you hated about them, and why you chose to throw them away. My name has been Eternal Pain, and above all else, remember to have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys next time in the verse.